What's up, everybody? Jesse, Slot City Fishing. So, current events, got a lot of people kayak fishing right now. Our beaches are currently closed. The boat ramps are still open for the time being, but that might change. So, lots of people are kayak fishing right now. On our Facebook group and page, Slot City Fishing, I'll put the links in the description. And then also in a bunch of the other local fishing groups, there's been tons of people buying and selling kayaks right now. So a lot of new guys out there, and this sport, it's kind of a lot of stuff to get into when you're first starting out, you know, a lot of questions. So this video is going to be the first in a two-part series about beginner kayak fishing tips. This one's going to be mainly about your rig and setting stuff up, like what do you minimally need, what are some nice things to have, and like how to set it all up and stuff. And then the next video is actually going to be about getting out on the water and some tips for you. But at the end of this video, we're going to do a giveaway. You can see I got 3 toadfish rods in the package. One of them I'm going to be doing a review video, and then the other 2 I'm going to be giving those rods away. So watch the video to the end, and then we'll get you signed up for that giveaway. And I hope that these tips are helpful for you guys. Leave comments if I'm forgetting anything or suggestions. I answer all y'all's comments down there. So yeah. Also sub to the channel, that way you can see when this next video comes up. I'm going to be doing it in the next day or 2 also. So yeah, let's get into it. Alright dudes, a little backstory about my kayak fishing experience. I've been fishing my whole life. I started kayak fishing in Pensacola, Florida about 4 years ago while I was stationed there. We rented pro anglers from this place. It was 50 bucks a day for 2 pro anglers on a trailer. You couldn't beat it. So at the time it wasn't like justifiable for me to buy one because I could rent them for so cheap. But the more and more I went, I would realize, man, I might as well just buy one of these things. So I bought 2 Outbacks with the clip-in seats. And I realized real quick that those aren't very comfortable, so I took those when I moved to Corpus Christi, Texas, and I traded those 2 Outbacks for a pro angler. And then when I moved to Jacksonville, I ended up wanting a boat, you know, because it's on the river and everything out here. So I sold my pro angler and put that money towards my boat. And I love my boat, it's nice, but I was just missing kayak fishing so bad. And I do a lot of volunteer work with a group called Heroes on the Water, where we take out veterans kayak fishing. I shoot video for those guys. So I wanted another kayak, that way I could run around on my own and not have to worry about like renting one or whatever. So yeah, at that point I had been kayak fishing for so long, I kind of figured out what my wants and needs were, you know, that I didn't really need super flashy stuff to like go do what I needed to do out in the water. So I ended up buying a Pelican Catch 130 HD from a dude who won it in a raffle at a fishing tournament, and Nick bought one also on sale at Academy Sports. And they kind of gave us some trouble at first because of the drives breaking and stuff, but once we got all that stuff sorted out, they're actually really great kayaks, and there's some really key features that I love about those kayaks. But we'll get into the tips now. Basically, that's my backstory. This is going to be things I wish that somebody had told me when I first started, because it would have saved me a ton of time and money, because I basically figured all this stuff out on my own because I wasn't big on social media until really like a year ago. But yeah, this is things that I picked up along the way, and take it for what it's worth. Everybody's got opinions. Yeah, here we go. Getting into tip number 1. All right, dudes, in the garage, I got my rigs. It's mine and my little brother's. They're set up identical though. First tip for you is keep it simple, all right? Here's a picture of my old pro angler. Look at how much stuff was all over this thing. Giant catch bags, stand-up bars. There's a huge fish finder on there. I had it all like wrapped with paracord and stuff, like ridiculous amounts of tackle storage. I was tournament fishing, so I had all my pro staff decals and stuff on there. I thought I was super cool. And then after a while, I just realized that it was super excessive. And then keeping it simple, I was more inclined to go fishing, because when you have all that stuff that you think that you need, it makes it to where there's more prep time, there's more stuff that you have to manage, it's heavy. It just made it to where, I don't know, sometimes I just didn't want to mess with all that stuff, and I just wouldn't go fishing. Whereas if I keep it simple, like with these rigs, the kayaks are super light. These Pelicans, they only weigh like 60 pounds. I could totally carry it by myself. I only take a small amount of accessories that all fit into that one watertight bag. I'll show you how I set up my tackle storage and stuff too. I do it a lot different than a lot of people. It's easy. I just got one bag, throw it on my shoulder, throw the kayak in the truck, I can dump it into the creek, ready to go. So I'll quickly run through my rig and show you how I have it set up. Just a cheap net from Academy, a catch bag, my drive, paddle, my camera stuff, which is unnecessary unless you have a YouTube channel, my pliers, leader material, fish grips, bump board goes under the seat, and then life jacket, you gotta have that, and then my tackle storage, I'll show you. Tackle storage to me is completely unnecessary. Like all the lure boxes and taking out your plastics and separating them, and now you have like 10 boxes that you gotta take, and then a box for your terminal tackle. This is how I do it. It's just a waterproof bag right here, and that serves a very good function also. It's waterproof, obviously, but when you roll it down and you clip it, it's now a big airbag, and it'll float. All your tackle bins, tackle boxes, if that goes over the side, it's gonna go straight to the bottom. So that's a pretty good solution. And then I keep one box of hard baits. For my soft plastics, Ziploc bag. I got like 20 bags of soft plastics in here. And then also your soft plastics, they last the longest when you keep them in their original packaging. Terminal tackle, I just use these small tins. I don't recommend tobacco use, but that's what I use. But the little Altoid tins, the mints, that would work too. And then I actually put that in my life jacket pocket. So if I need to re-rig, I got my pliers right there, my leader material, and then all my terminal tackles just in my jacket. So yeah, keep it simple, guys. Tip number 2 for you is wants versus needs and function versus costs. All right, you guys have probably all heard of the law of diminishing returns. It's like if you're buying something and there's different levels of quality, the difference between a $10 and a $100 thing could be a lot. The difference between a $100 and a $500 thing, probably not much different. All right, so when you start searching for things online that you need for your kayak, because there's certain things that you have to have, like a landing net, some way to store your fish, either a stringer or a catch bag, rods, reels, a way to keep your tackle, like there's things that you need, all right? Just be really aware that on the internet in 2020, the fishing industry is super trendy right now, and you got lots of dudes that are trying to work for these companies by pro staff, and I used to do it too when I was a tournament fisherman, so you know, I'm telling you like real life here. The information that you search, the answers that you get, they're gonna be funneled to you either by people advertising or pro staffers or whatever. Just be aware of that, and you don't have to have crazy expensive gear to go out there and have a really good time. So I'll show you some examples of things that I fell for when I first started and what I do now. So here's a perfect example. Catch bag. I used to have a ice mule. It was like a $200 catch bag. A fish spine punctured that thing and it started leaking water and it got stinky because the insulation got saturated with water. This is just a $5 bag from the sporting goods section at Walmart. You can put one of those hot cold ice bags from the freezer section inside of that bag, and it'll hold ice all day, even if it's 100 degrees outside. Let's see. Yeah, the funniest one to me are milk crates, like the Yak Attack Black Pack. I think it's Yak Attack, I could be wrong. Or like, there's lots of them out there, like $200 milk crates. Like, what's the purpose of that thing? It's just to hold your tackle, right? Like, why do you need a crazy one? Just use a milk crate. And then even like Yak Attack, they have their own branding on a milk crate. Like, you don't even need that. You can go get milk crates for free from the grocery store or your buddy or wherever. Just use any kind of milk crate. Even your rods and reels, guys. Like, this is a Berkeley Amp fishing rod. This thing's 35 bucks at Walmart, and it works really, really well. Very underrated rod. So don't let the fact that you don't have the latest and greatest thing keep you from going and fishing. Like, oh, I don't have a milk crate yet, so I can't go. Just go get a milk crate and it's fine. Like, you'll have fun. Just keep it simple, like rule number 1, and then function versus cost. You don't need the crazy latest greatest thing. Just go have fun. All right, guys, tip number 3 for you is set up your kayak ergonomically. Like, set up all your accessories in the most functional way possible, and then repeat it every time. That way you build the muscle memory of where your stuff is. So I'll go through my kayak and I'll show you how specifically I have it set up, all right? So pretend that we're actually out on the water, all right? I got my catch bag just in the front under these bungees. I have my fish grips on the left-hand side right here, my pliers on the right-hand side, my leader material. I already told you that I keep my terminal tackle in that tin in my life jacket. I keep my lure box under the seat, my bump board under the seat, my net. I'm right-handed, so I put it to where I can grab it on the right side. So I hook up a fish, then I bring him in, I net him on the right side of the boat, then I use my left hand to grab my fish grips, and then once I have the fish in my left hand, I can put my net back, use my right hand to get the hook out, and then I can either release him or dispatch him and put him inside the catch bag or whatever. Just have a plan. What you don't want is all your stuff just scattered out everywhere, and then you catch this fish and you end up having him out of the water for a long time and you can't revive him and he ends up dying or something like that. So just feel free to copy my setup. It works. Just figure out a system for your accessories in your kayak. All right, tip number 4 is always be prepared to flip. Always, all right? So how I have my stuff set up prepared to flip is my catch bag is bungeed down. All of my accessories are tethered to the kayak, so they're not gonna fall off, right? My stuff is under the seat, so hopefully it won't fly out. And then my bag right here, I always have this thing rolled and snapped shut. And the reason why I like that waterproof bag is when you roll it down and then you clip it, it makes it to where it's just a big air bubble. So if you do flip, that thing floats, so you're not gonna lose, you know, $200 worth of tackle or whatever if you flip, all right? And then you always gotta be thinking about how you're going to do a water re-entry if you do flip. So for that reason, I always put my rail mounted accessories on one side of the kayak, all right? That way, if I do have to hop back in, it's clear on that side. You know, if I had like a whole bunch of stuff all around me, it would be very difficult for me to climb back in if I went in the water. So my flipping story is I had a power pole on my Pro Angler, and I had it power poled down and the battery died on the power pole. So I prepared to flip, I stowed all my stuff, and I had to walk on the back of the kayak and actually pull the power pole up out of the water, and I flipped while I was doing it. So everyone flips, just be ready for it, all right? So that's tip number 4, always be ready to flip. Tip number 5, this is a thing that I think a lot of people skimp out on, or like ignorance is bliss. They don't want to think about it, so they end up just glossing over it, and that's safety, all right? Nobody ever expects anything bad to happen, but you've probably seen it on Facebook or in the news where people go offshore and they get caught in a storm, or people go missing, you know, like at night. People get hit by boats all the time. So don't skimp out on your safety gear, all right? It's never a bad idea to put your contact information on your boat, like your name, phone numbers, emergency contacts, that kind of stuff, all right? If there's one piece of gear that I would recommend that you actually put a lot of money into, that's your life jacket, all right? I personally don't recommend inflatable life jackets, and the reason why is I'm in the Navy and we do a lot of training with survival gear, and I can't tell you how many times you go to inflate your vest and the CO2 cartridge is bad in it, or there's a hole inside of the life preserver unit itself, and then you have no flotation. So a good, you know, like normal life jacket, the flotation is always there for you. So another big reason is, what if you become incapacitated? like for some reason you became dehydrated or sick, or you had some other health condition that you weren't aware of, or you got hit by a boat and you physically can't inflate that thing. In those life jackets, the flotation is always there. All right, another one is if you fish at night, it's the law for one, you have to have these, but you know, common sense, like you need the boats to be able to see you. And then in my personal experience, I was fishing in a group at night one time, and a couple of my buddies didn't have lights. They were kind of like leaning on mine, which is not the right thing, by the way, but we got separated, and it was kind of freaky for a moment because like, well, what if something happens to this guy? Like, I don't know where he is. Like, it's just use a light if you're doing early morning launches or you're fishing at night. So yeah, safety gear, really important, guys. That's my tip number 5. All right, so there's 5 tips for all you newbies out there. If you've been doing this for a while and you stumbled across this video, maybe you learned something too. If I forgot something and you got more questions, just leave a comment. We respond to all y'all's comments on the channel. And then make sure that you're subbed and have the notifications on. That way you'll get notified when the next video comes out in this series. We're going to talk about actually being out there on the water, give you some fishing tips. We're going to talk about weather, how to find fishing buddies, stuff like that. If you stuck around because of the rod giveaway, to be entered, all you got to do is subscribe to the channel and then leave some type of comment on this video. That'll get you entered. I'm going to pick the winner off the comments. But yeah, I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, it's a king. He's 24 inches. Yeah! Get it! Got him, boys.